Hare Krishna. So, welcome back everyone to our daily Bhagavad Gita classes. We're going to be speaking from chapter number 1, entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. And we're going to be speaking from text number 41. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so chapter 1, text number 41. Sankaraha Narakaya Eva Kulagdanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pittaraha Hi Esham Lupta Pinda Udaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Hi Esam Lupta Pindotaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Hi Esham Lupta Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Hi Esam Lupta Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Esam Lupto Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Yesham Lupta Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Yesham Lupta Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Yesham Lupta Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Yesham Lupta Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Yesham Pindodaka Kriyaha Shankaro Narakayeva Kulagnanam Kulasya Cha पतन्ति पितरो येषाम् लुप्तपिण्डोदकाक्रियः शङ्करो नरकायैव कुलज्ञानं च पतन्ति पितरो येषाम् लुप्तपिण्डोदकाक्रियः. Okay, word for word translation. Shankaraha, such unwanted children. Narakaya, make for hellish life. Eva, certainly. Kulagnanam, for those who are who are killers of the family. Kulasya, for the family. Cha, also. Patanti, fall down. Pitaraha, forefathers. He, certainly. Yesham, of them. Lupta, stopped. Pinda, of offering of foods. Udaka, and water. Kriyaha, performances. Purport and translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so the translation goes as follows. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Please repeat after me. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Purport. According to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam food are offered to forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in the devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in the Bhagavatam, Devashi Bhutapta Drinam Pritranam Na Kinkaro Nayam Vrini Cha Rajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihitra Kartam. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and is taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusuti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shankaro Narakayeva Kulananam Kulasya Cha Patanti Pitaro Yesham Lukta Pinduka Kriyaha. So this is now a continuation of what's been said in the few verses beforehand. So what Arjuna has been saying is that first of all, when we kill our family members, then what happens is that the elders are killed. And so we lose the people who are able to give us guidance on religious matters, on spiritual matters. So what happens is, because there's no shelter of the elders in the family, the young can get swayed. They can go into irreligion. And when irreligion increases, then womanhood is exploited. And when womanhood is exploited, then what happens is that the population that comes out of those exploited womanhood, they are called as Varna Shankara, or understood to be unwanted progeny. So what is the consequences of this? The consequences of having Varna Shankara are two. From the from the translation, we see that one, that it is going to create hellish life. Now, hellish life for who? It's very interesting that they've said for both the family itself and also the destroyer of the family. Both. So, we'll see more about it. And the second point is that the ancestors fall down because there's no understanding of the different religious principles why we do what we do. And so then what happens is there is a lot of rebellion towards people who don't understand why we do what we do. And because there's no one there to guide us on why we do what we do, then it's kind of said that, oh, there's no point to this, we don't see the point. And so they stop doing it. And so then the forefathers, the ancestors, they fall down because of certain performances of rites like the Pinda Udaka Kriya, or the Shraddh ceremony as we call it. Yeah? So when the protectors of Dharma are killed, the vulnerable are prone to be exploited, which means the womanhood. And how are they exploited? They are exploited through forced union. Now, we said yesterday that the consciousness of a child is determined at the time of union. What the consciousness of the man and the consciousness of the woman is at that time, that actually sets the seed of what type of soul will be attracted to that union. So, what happens in a forced union? What is the consciousness of a woman during that time? She is full of fear. She's full of, she's terrified. She's fearful. And what is the consciousness of the man? The man, he is just treating her as an object of sense gratification. So he is very lusty. And if the woman tries to restrain herself or try to save herself, then even the man can get violent. So look at the qualities that are taking place here. There is lust, there is violence, there is fear, there's uh, there's a lot of terrifying feeling for the woman. So all of these, if you look at these qualities, they are not very nice qualities. They are all qualities under the mode of ignorance and passion. And what happens is, because the consciousness of the mother and father during the time of union is not of the highest mode, what will happen naturally to the child that is going to be born from that? Therefore, the population that comes out of such exploited women will be dominated by the lower modes. But this is not to say that there cannot be any corrective measures down the line. That maybe even though that the consciousness in which they did it was not of the highest order, but then during the during the pregnancy, if the woman decides not to abort and keeps on reading scriptures and all that, you can have some sort of improvement. So think of it as being like a race, and in this race, human life is meant for one prime duty, as we said yesterday, that human life is meant for spiritual realization, for self realization. Now, if you are going to be, if the child is born of a mother and father in good consciousness, that child is already got like a head start in this life, because he will come with good samskaras, he will come with a good nature, a nature and a consciousness that is favorable for spiritual progress. And if it is not, if it is a complete opposite, like as we said in this case, when if it is in a forced union, then the starting point is so low that for that soul to cover the journey, it takes even a longer time. But that is not to say that it cannot do it. So we are not trying to, when the Shastra says unwanted progeny, it doesn't mean that you reject them. It just means that they are not of the best quality. Just think of like a teacher. A teacher in a classroom will of course want all the students to be very well behaved, to be listening to the teacher and not making any disruptions. That's the teacher's hope. But of course, there are certain students will be disruptive, some will not be disruptive, some will be very nice natured, like that. So the teacher is not going to reject any of the students. The job of the teacher is to make sure that each student is protected, and not protected, but given the same opportunity to rise to the next classroom, to pass from this level to the next level, no matter whatever the background of whichever child is under his care. Similarly, as the leaders of society, we would love to have children of a very nice nature, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So does that mean that we forget about them? No, that is not what the meaning of the word unwanted means. Unwanted just means that they are okay, they are there, but they are not of the best level of consciousness. But that doesn't mean we reject them. So, with culture, with education, and with post-birth samskaras, we can try to fix even unwanted progeny. But what happens when the elders are killed? Who is there to show them culture? Who is there to show them education? Who is there to give them right sanskaras? So when the elders are not there, then even the hope for Varna Sankara is completely destroyed. So that is why unwanted, another meaning of unwanted is that either the mother or the father, even if it is not a forced union, sometimes because the mother and father just want to have sense gratification, and they had no preparation that we want to have a child. But in the course of their sense gratification, as a byproduct, the mother became pregnant. And so there was no sense of responsibility. And then what happens is, if there is no, uh, there's no institution of marriage, there's no institution of commitment. And then what happens is, the man who just had a union with the woman just for sense gratification has got nothing to bind him. There's no socially acceptable structure in place that keeps him committed to that woman. And so if he leaves, then what happens to the woman? The woman also did not actually want it, but now she has to bear the child. So in this scenario, there are so many multitude of options. And the one extreme case is that that women take the route of abortion, which which has got a completely different level of karmic reactions that will come about if they go down that route. So another common case is that the woman would deliver the child and would take on the responsibility single-handedly to look after this child. But human species is very different from any other animal species. In human species, it is very much required that there be two parents. They cannot be just one parent. It is too great a responsibility for only one parent to take care of a child. This is, now we go to a bit of psychology, a bit of the biology of the understanding of how human society works. Because a human child requires a very long time of trying to train them. Like in the animal kingdom, if you've seen, like here we get to see, because we are so fortunate that the national parks are like not far away, and then you'll see that sometimes when a giraffe is giving birth, so the giraffe is quite high, and so when the mother is giving birth, the baby giraffe falls right down onto the ground, and just before the baby giraffe starts to even get up, the mother gives it a kick, because the giraffe has to learn how to run, because a baby giraffe is very, very tender, and so lions and predators are always on the lookout to try and catch them. So, so the first thing that the mother giraffe does is smacks and kicks the baby giraffe so that it can start to learn how to run, forget walk, straight into running mode, so that it can save it. And once it's learned how to run, then the mother calms down. That okay, now at least the baby can save itself, yeah, from predators. So if you look at in the animal kingdom, the children don't require too much maintenance or too much looking after compared to a human form, a human baby. But that's because a human baby, that form of life of human, is very precious, is very rare. It is the only species, as we discussed yesterday, that is able to understand the prime duty of life, which is to connect back to God, to realize itself spiritually. Right? So what happens to that woman who is abandoned and left with the child? So what is the impact on the mother and what is the impact on the child? Let's talk about the impact on the mother. So first of all, the mother will be scarred or traumatized if it is going through a forced union. So it can really destabilize her. Two is that she's now left alone to raise a child, which is an extremely hard thing to do without any support. And it comes that is like a broken home. As Chanakya Pandit said, that a grahastha is where there is a wife, there is a husband, and there is a child. That is a complete unit. If there is not those three things, then that's not actually a complete home. That is not, it's a broken home. What happens again is that such women are often stigmatized in society. They said that, oh, if they see a woman with a child on her own, automatically what is the thought process in the community, that oh, there's something wrong with her, or something has happened. They come to conclusions very fast. And because now sometimes she is stigmatized and she is excluded from the society, then she has got no support whatsoever. There's no one to provide any sort of assistance. So what does the mother do? The mother has to try and secure herself as well as the child. So her entire time just goes into maintaining the material aspect of life. Where is the time to instill spiritual values? Where is the time for that? So as Maslow, we had said, there's a philosopher called Maslow, and he said that there are a hierarchy of needs for a person, and the first thing that a person needs is he needs a basic necessities of life to be fulfilled, which is food, clothing, shelter, and what's the last one? Food, shelter, clothing, and yeah, so these three things they need. Or as I say, roti, kapda, makan. Yeah, roti, kapda, makan. They need these three things. That until and unless a person has got these three things, they are not able to think about anything higher in life, because they are just on survival mode, right? So when a person is in survival mode, they don't understand the importance of even devoting time to spirituality, because they'll be like, what is the point of that? I need to live. I need to live. I need to see through the next day. I can't just go about thinking about, oh, everything will be okay. No. So when a woman is in that situation and all her energy is gone in just to secure and provide for the child, and there's no structure behind her to educate her, to give her good samskaras, to give a good culture, then what is she going to pass forward? So that's again we see this a lot in society. So that is on the woman. What is it on the child? So now the child, as we said, is already born of low consciousness. Therefore, it's like uh, he is starting at a very far off point from the another person who is born in the mode of goodness. There's already a bit of handicap there. Second is because this child has been disowned, or the father has refused to take up responsibility, or has refused to acknowledge the child. What happens is that the child will grow up with very self-esteem, thinking that it is not loved, thinking that I'm the cause for a lot of stress in the family. And so it grows up with a lot of low self-esteem, and that is very, very dangerous, because people with low self-esteem, they need to feel that gap in them, that they are worth something. And for such people, they're very, very vulnerable to falling prey to bad habits, to bad association, because they are so much looking for self-acceptance or acceptance in the society, that they can easily fall into the bad association, right? So low self-esteem is a very, very strong ingredient or a precursor to a person who can be easily swayed into doing very much wrong activities. Another, that with this low self-esteem, there's also a bit of resentment, that why is everyone not loving me? So that person, along with low self-esteem, will also grow up with resentment towards the society. And when resentment becomes bigger and bigger, what do those people do? They engage in violent acts that are there, or violent acts which destroy the society. So you can see the far-reaching consequences of what Varna Sankara can do. And all of this is taught by Arjuna. He's thinking about all of these points, and he's telling Krishna that if Varna Sankara comes about, it is going to cause havoc, it is going to cause hellish life on earth. So, the effect of a fragmented home is a greater cause of godliness than atheistic education. Because people with what happens is that some people, especially like this single mothers and broken homes, it is not a very nice atmosphere. It's not a very positive atmosphere, and there's a lot of suffering. And because in the suffering, what tends to happen is that some people who even had a bit of faith in the Lord will start to question it. Because how can the Lord allow such a thing to happen to me? And so these people become a sort of atheist. There are many grades of atheists. The one is a default atheist. This person just doesn't believe in God. No matter what you say, will not understand and not believe in God. Second is a philosophical atheist. Now these are the more hardcore atheists. They have looked at the evidence and they're not convinced. And so they say that there's definitely no God there. A third type is an emotional atheist. An emotional atheist is that something has happened in their life that has shook them, that they believe that how can God be so cruel towards me? So again, you see, this is a very self-centered viewpoint. And so because of them feeling or being exposed to the experience, they tend to disbelieve in God, who is able to allow such a thing to happen. There was a very famous French pastor, and this French pastor had a son, and the son died from a very mysterious illness. And then the pastor became an atheist. Imagine, look at the shift, that he was preaching the glories of God, and he went all the way to the other side by saying that, oh, God cannot exist. And you know what was his logic? Is that I've heard that God is all powerful, all knowing, and all good. All powerful, all knowing, and all good. But I feel that all three cannot be right. Because if he is all powerful and all good, then he must not be all knowing, because he did not know that my son had died. Otherwise, he would have stopped it. If it was all knowing and all powerful, then he cannot be all good, because although he knew that my son is dying, he did not intervene and save my child. And if he's all powerful and all good and all knowing, then he's not all powerful, because he doesn't have the power to stop my son from dying. So imagine, this is the situation that can happen when a person is shaken emotionally, that even a little faith in God turns them into an atheist. And then the final level is called the transcendental atheist, and that is what we all want to become. We all want to become transcendental atheists. Now, what is a transcendental atheist? A transcendental atheist is a person who is already understood that, okay, there might be a God, but that is not Krishna, because Krishna is my friend, Krishna is my son, Krishna is my lover. Everyone in Vaikunta, in Golok Vrindavan, they do not take Krishna to be God. They don't even know, they don't even care that he is God. They just care that he is my lover, he is my friend, he is my master, or he is my son. They are only concerned with that. They don't care whether he is God or not. They just love Krishna for who he is. So in one sense, they are also transcendental atheists, because atheists don't believe in a God. So for them, even Krishna is not God. Krishna is an object of their love. They don't see Krishna in the same way. And that is Golok Vrindavan for you. And that is where we want to go. That is where we are trying to aim for, to become a transcendental atheist, not a normal materialistic atheist. Yeah? So the population that comes out from this, like the Varna Sankara, they are already born of low consciousness. They are more prone to self-esteem problems. They can't take advantage of dharmic instructions or institutions which have already been destroyed because of kulakshaya pranashanti, and therefore they live a very hellish life. So the word hell is metaphorically understood to be a place of great suffering. So if you ask the victims of the Holocaust, for them, concentration camps were like hell, because symbolically, hell represents a place of great suffering. So Arjuna is claiming that if this Varna Sankara increases, then the world will become hellish in condition. So how does this mean? So imagine you're going down a road. Now, down one road, it is full of lights, full of police officers, and everything seems to be going in order, law and order. And on the other side, there's another road which is a dark alleyway that people are drunkards lying around. There are pickpockets everywhere. Which road would you like to go down? Yes, yes. Which one would you like to go down? Why? Why would you want to go down the road of the policeman? Because it is safe, right? Very nice. So that's true. That if there is no dharma, if there is no law and order in society, then even just living in that society is a big ordeal, because you're always protecting yourself. You're always becoming very vigilant. You are not able to focus on anything. You're just focused on self-preservation, right? So when that is happening, then you understand that there's no time for you to think of anything else, because survival is your main focus. So when there's no law and order, then the world becomes hellish in nature. So if dharmic principles are not there, plus there's an increase in low grade population, the world will become hellish. And if the whole world becomes hellish, it is affecting both the people who are exploited and even the exploiters, because now the exploiters are living in a world which is of a degraded consciousness. So both people suffer. That is why when I said in the earlier one, how, as Arjuna is saying, that life, the world becomes hell for those of the family and for those who also destroy the family tradition. And so this is a very important point, because it shows that our actions have a far-reaching consequence, and we are embedded in a deeply interconnected society, and not only within the earth but intergenerational, between families, family members that are present and the family members that have passed away. And also it's an interdependent world, not only on this earthly planet but also in other planets like the Pitrulokas. They are also going to be affected. So we live in a give and take society. And that is why if we see this shlok that Prabhupada is quoted in the purport, that we have so many eternal debts to pay. What are the eternal debts and who are the two? So he mentions 5 people. First is the devas, the demigods. Then there are the rishis, which are the saints and the sages. Then there is the nara, means humankind, and and other family members. That's the fourth. And the fifth one is the ancestors. So the demigods, the saints, the other living entities, other family members, and our parents and ancestors. And because we have taken something from each of them to live in this world, from our parents and ancestors, we have got this body. We are getting this body from our ancestors. The demigods are providing all the elements with which to survive. The saints and sages have given us the spiritual wisdom to apply in our life so that we can become self-realized. The other living entities, we are so dependent on them for our own sustenance. Like Prabhupada was giving an example that when you're eating yogurt, it's got probiotic yogurt, which means you're eating bacteria. Those bacteria is helping you digest the food. You are dependent on other living entities. You're dependent on farmers to cultivate the food. You're dependent on the logistic people to bring that food to the supermarket. Then you go to the supermarket, you get the food. So it's not like you're growing anything yourself. You're so much dependent on entire supply chain, which are of course done by people. So you are dependent on so many factors for your survival. And of course, your other family members, they provide a safe haven for you to live your life and to understand the value of human life. So in all of these five examples of five areas or five different eternal debts that we have to pay, how do we pay them? So to the parents and the ancestors, you have to do seva, you have to do pitrudan or shrad ceremony to be able to sustain them, to be able to give them offerings so that they can enjoy life in the pitrulok. So there's two, there's Swargalok and there's Pitrulok. People who have done tremendous amount of punya, they can go directly to the Swargalok. But then there's some who do only reasonable amount. For them, they are transferred to the Pitrulok. Now the Pitrulok is an existence where they don't actually have a gross body. They are existing in a subtle body, which Prabhupada says like a ghostly form. So how are they going to get a ghostly form, like liberation from a ghostly form? How are they going to get a gross body? So for that, they are dependent on the descendants to offer them food during the Shraddh ceremony. Like every year, in a particular month, there is a fortnight that is being designated as the time where people can perform Shraddh ceremony so that they can offer prashadam, because prashadam is the only food that will be able to counteract the sinful reactions and liberate them from that hellish sort of life and give them a gross body. This is all Vedic science, it's all spiritual science. It is not something that can be experimented upon, because material science is different from spiritual science. And also this is material science, but this is of a higher dimensional science. You cannot understand this just like that. There's certain things that are beyond our understanding, but because they are given in the Vedas, and the Vedas are of divine origin, that means that whatever they have are axiomatic truths. They exist as the truth. So you just have to accept them, right? So ultimately, all these different uh, rituals that we do to pay our debts, all these rites, all these purificatory rituals that we do, they are all meant for one purpose. As I said yesterday, that there is one prime duty of human life, and all other duties are subservient to understanding and realizing the prime duty. And the prime duty, as we said, is to understand God and connect with Him through the process of Bhakti Yoga, so that we can rediscover our actual identity as being eternal servitors of the Lord. So how does this help in that connection? What is the connection? The connection is that when you're doing all these rituals, there is an impression that's created in your mind that actually there is different authorities in your life. The people that you're indebted to, that you are meant to serve these people. That this is creating impressions that, okay, you found this authority, now go ahead to find who is a supreme authority, right? So we said that the parents and ancestors, they are one of the eternal debtors. We are eternal debtors to them. So how does that work? So how is it that we understand Krishna through this? So Krishna says in the Gita in 9:16 and 9:17, he says that I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. In fact, all our ancestors, they were all parts and parcels of Krishna because they're all souls. So in that way, Krishna is saying in the 9th chapter that everyone that you have taken shelter of, they are all my expansions. They are all my parts and parcels. So they're not different from me in that sense. So trying to understand and see Krishna as being the final enjoyer of everything that we do. All these rites and rituals are meant for that purpose, to realize Krishna through all these things that we do. Krishna also says that I am the offering to the ancestors. In 9:16, he says, I am the offering to the ancestors. Clear cut. Yeah, he's saying that in the 9th chapter. So, what is he trying to say? That's why 9th chapter is called the most confidential knowledge, because everything in our existence, everything that we understand, the root cause of everything is Krishna. So that is the whole point of all of our traditions and our rituals. So Prabhupada says is very nice that all this Varna Sankara business has already happened. That there's no Varnashram system anymore now. So there's no point in trying to revive it. That there is, people are not understanding the importance of all these rituals. People have given up doing all of these things. So is it a case that it is a lost cause? Is it a case that there is no remedy to this? But Prabhupada writes very beautifully that even if everything is forgotten, if you just take shelter of Mukunda, then you're freed from all these obligations. As he says in, Prabhupada quotes this verse from the Bhagavatam, anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligations, all these eternal debts that we have to repay, even if we don't do anything, but this is a condition that they have taken to the path in all seriousness. Not that you just take to the path of bhakti with no seriousness and then you forget on doing all the obligations because you think that just because I've done a bit in bhakti, I'm done. No. In all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is why in Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came down to make it very, very easy for us. He said that we are all Varna Sankara. We are all that low level consciousness born people. So for us, there's no Varnashram system to uphold. It is kind of non-existence. So what does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so mercifully tell us? Just chant and that will purify us totally. When you start chanting, then Cheto Darpana Marjanam. All the impurities of the hearts will slowly be burnt away. And that is why even Shukdeva Goswami says to Parikshit Maharaj that Kaler Dosha Nide Rajan Asti Hi Eto Mahan Guna Kirtanad Eva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vrajat. That in this age of Kali, which is full of faults, yet there is one great quality, that just by doing Kirtan of Krishna, Sankirtan, that itself will give you liberation and will give you the highest destination. So, as we said, the Varnashram system is like a ladder. It's there to support you to progress enough to get to spiritual life. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the elevator. He's given us the glories of Nam Sankirtan, the dharma for this fallen age, as the best and most simple method to go from being a Varna Sankara all the way to a pure devotee. And this we have seen in our Iskcon movement when Prabhupada ji has turned hippies into the most happies of pure devotees. So we are very, very fortunate to be connected to this movement, and we are so fortunate that we have been given the means of deliverance in this day and age, which is the power of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just by chanting sincerely, that is all that is needed. And everything, your entire existence will become purified, and you'll be able to understand, or you will become fully self-realized, and you'll be able to become a devotee of the Lord. Okay, any comments, any questions? Yes, Manoj. Yes. Right, so I made a point that there is something known as a transcendental atheist. That is people in Golok Vrindavan where they don't treat Krishna as being God because they're so much in love of Krishna as being Krishna that they don't see him as God.
So another thing is Pitru. All the Pitru not high means they is not without body. Some of them who is very sinful, they don't get the body. Rest they get the body. They enjoying the Swarga Loka, heavenly things, but they cannot reach to the Swarga. That's why we need the this process of Shraddha. But they have the body. But some of them who is the very sinful, our ancestors, forefathers were sinful, they don't get the body. They get the ghostly body. Prabhupada is writing in the purpose. Some of them who is the very sinful, they don't get the body. But rest, Pitralok is like Swargalok. Pitralok is like Swargalok. But they don't have the piety to reach there, that's why they stuck there. But they enjoying there with they getting the heavenly body, enjoying. But they cannot enter, that's why Shraddha give them to create their piety more to go heaven. Is my point. Provided some of them, those who are sinful, they don't get the body. They don't get the ghostly body. So they don't go to the Pitralok. They are remaining earthly planet somewhere. They don't go there. Yeah, they get the hellish planet. ऐसे प्रोफाइल तात्पर्य में ऐसे लिखते हैं.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.